Parliamentary committee suspended, again. The John Bates scandal deepens as PNM's credibility hemorrhages in plain sight. By WZYE-TV Political Desk enhanced from Kevin Fellman, Guardian Media. For the second time this month, a parliamentary committee has been brought to a grinding halt. And once again, the source of the disruption traces directly back to embattled PNM Senator Janelle John Bates. The Joint Select Committee on National Security had convened Wednesday afternoon at 1:15 p.m. to assess the implementation of the Administration of Justice Electronic Monitoring Act 2012. Representatives from the Ministry of Justice, the Police Service, and the Judiciary were already seated and prepared to proceed when the meeting was abruptly moved into a closed-door, in-camera session. Sources confirmed to Guardian Media that committee member Dr. Rudal Moonilal formally objected to John Bates' continued participation, citing serious concerns about her conduct during an earlier sitting of the Public Administration and Appropriations Committee, PAC, which had been examining the state's acquisition of pharmaceuticals. JSC Chairman Saddam Hussein subsequently emerged to deliver the inevitable announcement. A matter has arisen, which was brought to our attention, and we cannot continue this meeting this evening. We are adjourning to a date to be fixed, and we'll have to communicate with you on the date that we have adjourned to. With that, the meeting was dead. The PAC scandal. What John Bates is accused of. The controversy at the root of all this erupted on April 13th, when PAC Chairman Jagdeo Singh was forced to adjourn a separate committee hearing in similarly dramatic fashion, describing what had occurred as something quite regrettable. The PAC had been conducting a high-stakes inquiry into the processes governing pharmaceutical importation and approval in Trinidad and Tobago, an investigation that had already exposed alleged weaknesses in the system for issuing special import permits and the troubling absence of any public list of approved pharmaceuticals permitted to enter the country. Former Health Minister Terence Dayal Singh had been invited to submit evidence following a series of explosive allegations, including claims that he pressured the National Insurance Property Development Company, NIPDEC, to grant preferential payment treatment to a major pharmaceutical company. Then came the document that blew the committee open. A submission filed by Dayal Singh on April 8th, a document whose metadata told a story he likely never intended to share, contained track changes traced directly back to Senator Janelle John Bates. The digital fingerprints embedded in the file suggested she may have actively assisted in drafting Dayal Singh's memorandum ahead of the critical March 25th committee sitting. In other words, a sitting opposition senator, serving on the very committee investigating a former PNM minister, may have been helping that minister craft his defense. The PAC's special report, signed by all committee members except opposition MP Camille Robinson-Regis, who filed a dissenting minority report raising concerns about information leaks and committee procedure, laid out these findings in stark detail. The PNM has since moved to remove John Bates from the PAC entirely, replacing her with opposition Senator Vishnu Danpal. But the damage extends well beyond one committee seat. Beckles holds John Bates' fate, but her grip looks uncertain. Senator John Bates is scheduled to meet with PNM political leader Penelope Beckles today to formally respond to the allegations. Beckles confirmed at Wednesday's State of the Republic address at City Hall that she will render a decision on John Bates' future within the party following that meeting. When reporters pressed John Bates directly on the scandal at the same event, she refused to say a single word. Her silence was loud, but perhaps not as loud as the question now echoing across the political landscape. What exactly will Beckles do, and does she have the authority, the courage, or the political capital to do it? WZYE-TV analysis. The weakest opposition in living memory. Let us speak plainly about what is happening here, because the citizens of Trinidad and Tobago deserve clarity, not spin. What we are witnessing is not merely a senator embroiled in controversy. What we are witnessing is the systematic, week-by-week collapse of an opposition that has lost all credibility as a governing alternative, and at the center of that collapse stands Penelope Beckles, widely regarded by political analysts and observers as the weakest opposition leader in the history of Trinidad and Tobago. That is not hyperbole. That is the record. Under Beckles' leadership, the PNM opposition has been unable to land a single decisive blow against the Kamla Persad-Bissessar-led UNC government. It has failed to articulate a coherent alternative vision for the country. It cannot manage its own internal affairs. Its former political leader, Dr. Keith Rowley, publicly boycotts her events and refuses to publicly align with her leadership. Its sitting MP Stuart Young stations himself at the back of the room at her address, as if physically signaling his disengagement. And now, one of its senators stands accused of covertly assisting a minister under investigation to craft his parliamentary defense, a potential subversion of the very democratic oversight mechanisms the opposition is supposed to uphold. The John Bates affair is not an anomaly. It is a symptom. A strong opposition leader would have moved decisively and publicly the moment the metadata evidence surfaced. She would have suspended John Bates immediately, issued a clear statement affirming the integrity of parliamentary committees, and positioned the PNM as an organization that holds its own members to account. That is what leadership looks like. Instead, Beckles offered measured language and a scheduled meeting, the political equivalent of asking a fire to wait while you find the extinguisher. The pattern is now unmistakable. Beckles reacts, rarely leads. She manages optics, rarely manages crises. She inherits problems she did not create, but consistently fails to resolve them with the force and authority the moment demands. 2 parliamentary committees suspended in a single month. A senator accused of compromising the integrity of a national inquiry. A fractured caucus. A ghost of a former leader who refuses to show up. A sitting MP who literally sits as far from his colleagues as the room allows. This is not an opposition. This is an organization in managed decline, and the citizens of Trinidad and Tobago, who depend on a strong, functioning opposition to hold government accountable, are the ones paying the price. History will record this chapter accordingly. WZYE-TV, Caribbean News. No filter. No fear.